Welcome, Mona Lise here. I'm back with another video, and today is a really exciting day. It's September 1st, 2025, and I'm launching a new challenge. It's the 30-day Art as Activism challenge. And I've been thinking about this for a while. It's been coming to me as one of the ways for myself as an artist to be an activist, going to protest, doing political things, helping out in the community, volunteering. These are all wonderful things, but I've always been intrigued by artists who share their message that they want to communicate through their art. So that's what this is all about. I'm hoping to inspire other artists or wanting to be artists out there, creatives, in all disciplines to participate in this challenge. And I have created a PDF that you can get that goes over the different parts. Basically, there are 4 parts to the challenge, which are about choosing your art form, your medium. I'm suggesting you choose one, but if you're a mixed media artist, go with what you're used to. Or you want to do a one-woman show with all the creative expressions in it, do it. But narrowing down to one is helpful to keep focus and to really get on creating a quality piece of art. Activism. People have called this artivism or craftivism, and I'm not sure who coined those terms, or I would give them credit, but I've heard those 2 terms as I've been researching for this. Let me back up a minute and talk about how art can be activism. Basically, art activates a feeling in another person, evokes a response. That's what good art does anyway, evoking an emotional response. But we want that response to potentially, make people think, first of all, of something new or in a new way. Think of an issue, a problem, or a solution in a new way. And it could create change in another. It could inspire another to change, could inspire the collective, could create a movement. Who knows? Let's think big here. So that's what we're up to. That's what we're doing. I have a big, long list of possibilities for your art medium. We can do writing, spoken word, storytelling, rapping, music, drumming, chanting, dance, movement. Let's get out of the box here. When I think about movement and activism, I think of the modern dance movement that broke out of the chains of ballet and tap and some of these other more structured types of movements and said, hey, we want to move our body in different ways. And just creating that whole new art form in the West was political in a way, or it was innovative, and it made people think differently about dance. There was a freedom to it. But it could be photography, film, videography, graphic design. That's what I'm going to be working with. I love graphic design, and of course, I've made lots of imagery for Instagram and YouTube graphics and for some friends, but I haven't done it in a way where I really want it to have a message and that it's considered an art form. I've always known it's artistic, but I want to incorporate some painting and drawing that I do with graphic design. So more on that later. Well, let me show you now. I started my first piece for the month today. It's a work in progress, and it's probably hard to read on the camera backwards, but you can see there's some lettering there. And I was just using pencil the way I have been doing. It says Solar Punk Revolt plus Vision. So I'll talk more about that in another video, because this video is not about the message that I want to get out. This video is about the challenge for all of us to be creating art. There's so many important issues going on right now. Well, there always are, but right now it's a time when many of us can feel like, what can I do? Well, talking about things, creating things, sharing our perspective can help the collective. So more ideas for media that might light you up could be illustration, mixed media, as I said, collage, art journaling, finger painting, stamping, abstract design, doodling, cartooning, botanical style, graffiti style, street style art. Working with nature, leaves, seeds, tree branches, flowers, making mandalas or sculptures outside or inside with these objects, making flower crowns or just simply arrangements. Fashion, worn art, sacred adornment, jewelry. Knitting, quilting, felting, molding, paper crafting, ceramic, metal, wood, plastic, upcycling, found objects, sculptures or arrangements, placed objects, altar work, interior design, found objects, arrangements. So these are what I thought of, and I know I have not covered everything. So choose something from this list. Again, you can get the PDF below if you want to have this list in front of you, or other things that you love or you'd love to try out, explore, and experiment with. Now is the time. These don't have to be professional level pieces. It's more about feeling that we can channel our desire for change, things that are upsetting us. Well, let me get to that. How do we choose what to talk about? Choosing the issue, the problem, or the solution. What ethical or moral injustice breaks your heart, infuriates you, worries you, or keeps you up at night? What bothers you the most every time you hear about it or think about it? Is it social injustice, economic issues, local or international, policy issues, locally, nationally, internationally, environmental, animal rights, including the human animal, human rights, children's, women's, or men's-specific issues, LGBTQIA plus rights, marriage, healthcare, equity, or other issue, community-specific problem. Who do you think is responsible for this issue or problem? Do you want to call them out? Another way to approach it is to look at the solution. What brings you hope? What have you seen impact your community already or the larger world? This could highlight what is possible, let others know, to give hope to others. What is needed to correct a problem or right a wrong? Spoiler, this is what I'm doing. The solar punk is this sort of vision of the future that takes the technology we have but incorporates it with earthly awareness and green energy and green reverence, I want to say. Or maybe, what are you doing already? Are you volunteering in your community or donating money to a certain cause? Maybe that's already something that you care about deeply, and just letting others know about it is part of what your art can be about. So after you choose your issue, and I will say choose one. Of course, mine is broad. We're going to change all of society. That's mine. But, there's so many issues that I care about and could have focused on. And so I know that's probably true. And many of these are interconnected, but I'm saying choose one again for this month so that you don't feel overwhelmed, right? I'm going to share a message about one thing that I care about deeply. And then here's the message. The third part of the challenge is choose your message. Now, if it's a long-term project, let's say you want to do an oil painting about something, that may take you the whole month. So you have one message you're communicating. But if you're working like me, I'm doing colored pencil on paper. I can literally do one a day. So it really depends on and I do want to, for me personally, I'm going to communicate this idea of solar punk future in multiple ways. So that seems really juicy and creative to me rather than distracting. So up to you how you want to shape your month around this challenge. This part, though, the messaging requires some finesse. It builds on your chosen issue or solution from number 2, but depending on your art form, it could include metaphor, humor, symbolism, allegory, sarcasm, puns, synonyms, antonyms, imagery, or other methods to communicate your message. You may want to have a clear message, or you may want to be more subversive. Think about books you've read or movies that you've seen where the message sort of hits you later. Just thinking about Squid Games. It's an anti-capitalist movie, but it's so violent and gory. It's this horrible game. I don't know if you're not familiar with it. It's a Korean series. But it didn't hit me until season 2, what it was actually about. I didn't read about it. And I said, oh, this is dark. This is as dark as capitalism can get. That's just an example, where it's sort of, but the takeaway with that, and I used the Matrix actually in the PDF. If you read about that, you can see how creating something that grabs you, a piece of art that you really want to look at, it's delightful in some way and has a message, rather than the message being, super literal and super preachy or educational. That's not really what we're looking for. We're looking about communicating in a new way or a different way, an artistic way, and putting the art sort of front and center. The message is there too. That's part of it, but it's not like the art is an afterthought. So the example I wrote about in the PDF is you don't want to just put recycle on a poster or a t-shirt as a mandate. Hey, recycle, and then do some picture afterwards that relates to recycling. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay, that's probably the trickiest part. Coming up with your medium, coming up with your issue, probably straightforward, but the messaging, that's going to take some time and discussion. I'm open to talking to folks about this over the month. Meet me in the comments, find me on social media, shoot me an email. Let's talk about it. Number 4 of the challenge is choose a platform to share it once it's complete. Now you can also share your work in progress. That's what I'm planning on doing. Of course, when we think of platforms, we think of online platforms, and I'll be on YouTube and Instagram as well as email weekly, updating about the challenge, sharing my work, and I'm going to be talking about other artists, current as well as in the past, who have been activists with their art, just for inspiration and ideas and to learn. So, but online is not the only place where you can share this. Maybe that's not your thing. IRL platforms count too. It could be sharing with your family, your friends, your community, your church, your school, an organization you belong to, a book club. It could be going to a local coffee shop, offering your art to be there, a gallery or a restaurant. There's so many ways to share it, but we can't just make the art and leave it locked up in our house, because that's missing the activism part. So this is indirectly helping artists get visible with their work, but doing it through a really important thing that we need all of us participating, giving what we can. And as artists, what can we give? Our art. And if we have something we care about, we want to communicate in that art, let's do it. That is the challenge. So I said, any questions, let me know too. If that's not clear, again, get the PDF for the details, just to refer on everything I talked about. There was a lot in this video. You can follow me here on YouTube or on Instagram. Instagram won't have the long form video, I don't think, but I will have daily posts on both of those platforms throughout the month of September 2025. And you can, like I said, shoot me an email, hello@monalisa.art. Find me on socials under The Visible Creative. That's my handle. And let's use the hashtag ArtActivates. ArtActivates, all spelled out. ArtActivates. And that way, everybody who is doing the challenge, their art will be in one place. And mostly Instagram, I'm thinking now about that. But of course, in your community, we're not using hashtags, so that's an online piece of this. But that's all for today. I want to share. Well, I've got a couple other little works in progress here. I'm going to take a picture and show those on Instagram and maybe as a post here on YouTube so you can see my work in progress from today. And I look forward to connecting with you through this challenge, being inspired, and thinking about some of the issues differently, learning about solutions from you. And that's all for now. Aloha. Take care. Until next time.